Hello and welcome to Lesson 2. Hopefully from Lesson 1, you've learned a little bit more about where we've come from in terms of our learning journey to get to where we're going in terms of business and what the end outcome should be, i.e. that you can sell the business or step away and have it run under management. So in today's lesson, we're going to go through the business structure and really understand how to create a business that runs without you completely and the 6 steps that are going to allow you to do that. So in today's session, we're going to be going through the recipe or the 6 steps that allow you to actually grow your business to that level. It's kind of like baking a cake. You need all the right ingredients. You need them in the right quantities. And so building a business, if you apply the right recipe, should be able to grow effectively. Today, we're going to go through a 6-step methodology that will allow you to effectively grow your business. Many business owners get started in business without understanding all the elements that need to come together to run an effective business. So in this lesson, we're going to be going through all of those elements and breaking them down so that you can understand all the bits and pieces to create a repeatable and scalable operation. By the end of this lesson, you're going to have a checklist of things to do. And I encourage you to write down your thoughts and ideas as we go through these lessons. There's going to be several things that you should continue to do that you're already doing. There'll be things that you should stop doing right now, and there'll be some new ideas that you can implement along the way. Hopefully your takeaway from this will be a level of business mastery. Now that is being brilliant at the basics. You don't have to be a wizard at absolutely everything. Sometimes you just need to have a minimum viable product that can continue to operate at a reasonably expected standard. And in order to continue operations, you need to have systems and processes. So we're going to go through the 6 pillars that are going to enable that. Now, the end state of getting the business to run without you is for it to be a commercial, profitable enterprise that is run under management or is automatically running every day. So all you should have to do is check in on it of occasion. It should be able to continue to be able to function, to deal with problems, and to be able to grow without your day-to-day input. So we need to make sure that we have the enterprise functions complete and that the core of the business is actually running the way it should. Firstly, we need to understand the direction. Where is the business going? What is the business trying to achieve? Now, you've probably figured this out, but you need to document it and put it in a place where other people can read this, pick up the goals, pick up the vision, pick up the direction that you're trying to go in and run with it. Now, the goals help you to keep the business repeatable. Now, I've stressed this several times, but we need to make it repeatable. Repeatable. That means that the business can continue to do something long enough for it to be well known for doing that one thing really well. So in order to stop shiny object syndrome and people chasing different ideas and different visions at different points, we need to create clear goals and objectives for each company or component in the business, like the division, for the business as a whole, for each team and for each individual, so that they know exactly what they have to do every day, every week, every month, so that at the end of 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, the business is much further than where it was when it started. The second part of mastery is getting a reliable product or a reliable service delivery. Getting into a position where you know the standard of the output. So like McDonald's example, you know that the cheeseburger is going to come with X amount of ingredients. They even measure the salt, the sauce, even the way they put salt on the fries and how they mix in the actual serving bay. These seemingly silly details are actually really important for making sure that the product is consistent and that it can be consistent when you're not there, which is part and parcel of mastery. Not only should the product be consistent for you and your understanding of how long it takes, how complete or how correct that product is, but it's also really important for the customer. They're going to come to rely on a particular level of standard over a period of time. Also, if they're going to provide a referral to you or your business or your services, they want to make sure that that referral can be relied on as well, that the next person is going to get a similar or better experience. This is how an effective business grows a reputation over time in order for it to then gain customers without having to effectively market. The third level of mastery is understanding the money side of the equation. Of course, you've got budgets, you've got things you have to spend money on, maintenance that you have to do. There are staff wages, there are marketing expenses, there are all sorts of costs in business. And if you're not making the right decision, you're living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, it makes it really difficult for you to actually comfortably grow your business because you're always trying to deal with a problem or put out a fire. So we're going to talk a lot about money mastery, but that's really going to go into everything else. That's the lifeblood of your business. And ideally, you want to have a very clear, consistent, and current idea of your finances. You don't want to wait till the end of the year to get your profit and loss and realize you spent too much money on X or Y. You want to make sure that you can start to curb spending, control costs, manage your budgets. And perhaps if you see an opportunity, you might have more cash in the bank to go and pursue that opportunity. For example, marketing for a particular standout thing that nobody else is doing in the market, or buying another company, or pouncing on some cheaper stock that's available for a short time only. And the fourth area of mastery we're going to go through is time management. One of the most important things that you can do is control your time, because as a business owner, everything has to go through you, particularly early on. Eventually, you can delegate and you can hand things off, but you should really be thinking about the high level, high value tasks, not looking at the minutiae or doing the small things. And sometimes you might do the small things just to refresh your memory of what it's like, or to set an example for somebody else, or to train somebody else. But it's a much better, much more high value task if you are thinking about the big picture movements of the business. What's the future direction? Where are the opportunities? How can you create a strategic advantage? And so on. And as a business owner, I can guarantee there's something you could be doing better. I'm constantly looking for new ways to improve, to go faster. But if you are doing all of the tasks yourself, or even if you're doing tasks that are not moving you forward, not in that goal set that we talked about earlier, then you're really just going around in circles and delaying your push forward to where you should be. Sometimes that might mean that you need to spend money on a wage or on someone else's skill set that can start to take those tasks off you, because sometimes saving money on a wage is actually costing you a fortune in new opportunities, in new development, in fixing other processes and steps in your business and enabling other people to do great things for you. So don't always see a wage as a pure cost. Sometimes a people cost can be an opportunity cost or a trade-off to what you could otherwise be doing. Now, there's no point scaling a process that's not any good. If you don't have a great product or a consistent way to deliver that product or service, then even if you do more sales and marketing, you're just going to have more unhappy customers, and you're going to compound the negative side. There's also no point in doing more sales and marketing if you're running at a loss. If you're not making money on each transaction, then you're just compounding a descent into debt. As we go through these lessons, we're going to unpack other elements such as going deeper into sales, going deeper into marketing, going deeper into time management and finances, etc. So to understand the levers in your business and how to drive conversions, drive sales, drive that profit, drive that revenue, there are a couple of simple formulas. Now I'm going to give you a formula and I'd like you to write it down. This formula will help you understand how to grow and scale this element of your business, and there's a number of components within it. So the formula is leads times conversion equals number of customers. That sounds very simplistic, but it's actually really important. So your number of customers, if they're all spending $100 and you need $1,000 to break even, that means that you need 10 customers to get your $1,000. Now, if you understand what that number is, what that break-even number is, and the dollar value and the number of customers that are there, then there's only two things that you can really do to improve that end number, or to get that number to where you want it to be. That is, get more leads and get more conversions. So in that, there's two activities. One is the marketing side to attract those leads. The other is the sales side to convert those leads. Now that we know the two inputs that improve the third number, we know that that's what we have to improve, what process we have to improve. Now we know what steps we have to take to increase that number. And once you understand what it is that you need to do specifically, now you can break that down into steps and chunks. It's not such a everything needs to change, and so there's too many decisions to make, too many ideas to come up with. No, we can refine that down to a very simple set of improve A and B, and we can do that by doing steps A, B, and C. You can research those, you can dive deeper into those topics, but at least now you have an understanding of the two inputs that drive the output. Okay, so I think it's important just to define a lead. A lead is a prospect. They are someone who has interacted with your business in some way. It doesn't mean that they are a customer or that you've even qualified them or that you even really know who they are or why they've contacted you. Sometimes they could have walked into your shop. Sometimes they might have called you on the phone. They might have sent you an email. They might have interacted with one of your staff at a conference. They might have filled out a form on the website. At that point, it's just an interaction point. It's a touch point. You don't really know much more than maybe you grabbed a first name. Maybe you grabbed a email address. Maybe there's a small note in the comments section that isn't really enough information to understand whether or not they are ready to be a customer. Maybe they're a spam or a contact that's not really worth you chasing. Maybe they're not qualified. Maybe they don't have the budget, the timeline, etc. But a lead is still important. And capturing that lead is the first step in the sales process. Now, conversion is the number of leads that become customers. So if you have 100 leads and 10% convert to customers, then you have 10 customers. Now, it often takes a lot of work to generate a customer. You've got the lead process, you have to market to them, you have to interact backwards and forwards. And after a period of time and you've built that relationship and you've identified the issue or the problem that you solve, how you can solve it, and they have accepted, perhaps the quote or the proposal or have bought the product. One of the next most important things is getting more out of that customer or repeat business. That is one of the most impactful things in order to grow your business. If you have a business that allows you to do repeat business, you should double down on the repeat. I repeat, you should double down on the repeat. The more you can get recurring transactions or future transactions from that same customer, it's the cheapest acquisition you are going to get. Customers that have already bought are 16 times more likely to buy and 5 times cheaper to acquire. Now, in order to predict what those sales might be, take your average transaction value and then multiply it by the number of times that that customer is likely to buy throughout their customer lifetime. For example, if you run a lawn care company and you happen to have a customer that spends $50 a fortnight with you over the next couple of years, well, then now you can multiply $50 times X amount of fortnights times X amount of years. Now, to calculate your customer lifetime value, all you have to do is take the amount times the average total transactions of a customer. So that way now you have the customer lifetime value. So is it easier to spend 10 hours trying to get a customer to do one lawn job for $50? Or is it easier to spend 10 hours getting a customer for a $50 lawn job for the next 3 years, every fortnight? Customer lifetime value is the backbone of revenue for your business, a stable platform of revenue from which to grow. So if you're constantly living job to job or project to project, you don't have that safe zone of revenue to know, all right, well, we need to do X amount of marketing and then we can retain all of these good staff. We can retain all of these systems and processes and hardware. You also have to keep spending money to acquire new customers. So it's much easier to sell to the ones that you already have. In fact, sending an email to your database of past customers is much cheaper, if not free, other than the cost of the software. You might have 100, 1,000, 5,000, 50,000 contacts in your email database, and it takes you the hour to write the newsletter and 10 seconds to click send. So other than that, you would otherwise have to go and do magazine ads, billboard ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, etc., in order to attract and capture those leads. One of the most effective marketing channels is your existing customers. If you're not asking referrals and or paying sales commissions, then you should really look at that area of growth, because a happy customer that refers another customer or that new person is 5 times more likely to buy, particularly if it comes from a trusted source. And sometimes going cheaper is not the best approach. So to understand the total revenues in your business, you need to take the total number of customers times the average transaction value or average customer lifetime value. And that'll help you understand and predict how much revenue you're actually going to get into your business. But more importantly than revenues is profit. And you take revenues multiplied by your margins to understand your profit. So you need to make sure you're maximizing not only your number of customers and not only your average transaction value, but also the margins on your products in order to maximize your profits. Once we've nailed mastery, that first 4 stages in the business, now we're going to start to work on marketing. Marketing is the lifeblood of new leads into your business. So having a really strong marketing approach is going to help you fix every other number down the line, provided that you have your conversions right, your profits right, your ability to handle customers consistently. Then you're actually going to develop some really good processes and have an output that is consistent and that makes you money. Next, we need to make sure that your systems are aligned, that you can step away from your business, but not only how you develop your products, but also how you run your business operations, like your bookkeeping, your accounting and financials, your customer complaints process, things like that. But before we do that, we need to look at your vision, mission, values, directions, because those things are going to drive how your processes are formulated, what they do, why they happen, and how they're thought of. You need to have an org chart so that when people join your business, they know where they fit in the business lifecycle. You need to have procedure manuals, checklists, how-to guides, so that anybody can step in, pick up that piece of paper and do that work. Going back to McDonald's as the example, they hire teenagers fresh out of school and they get quite good productivity out of them, but also they enjoy the lower wage cost of having those employees, and it provides an equal opportunity. People coming out of school get some business education and some business experience, as well as the business having a low cost workforce that is quite effective because they can follow the checklist, they can follow the process. So I mentioned that building a business is like baking a cake. Now, the important thing to remember about baking a cake is you have to have everything in the right ratios. So you can't have too many eggs or it's going to be too sloppy, or you can't have too much baking soda or it's going to explode. So having all of the right systems but no marketing means you've got no sales. Having all the marketing and no systems means you can't deliver the product and provide a quality, repeatable process. And as you scale, you need to create systems for the other parts of your business, like your recruitment and your HR, your onboarding, your offboarding, your training, and so on. Once you have the team, you need to set the conditions for the team to build the company. So no longer do you need to be the charismatic leader. You need to create the conditions where your team members are working towards the vision, are working towards the end outcome of what your business is trying to achieve, or to be the most successful, or to be the fastest, or to be the most reliable. Building a high-performing team helps you, yet again, take a further step back because you know that the everyday is taken care of. You know that decisions are being made, problems are being solved, and only when those problems are outside a certain defined set of parameters that you actually need to step in and take over. Now, in terms of marketing, most founders are the lead salesperson in their business. Now, this is problematic because if you're the only person that can sell, well, then you can never really step away. So marketing is one of the most important things to get right in order to allow you to take a full step back so that you can allow the marketing or the attraction of new clients, the sales process to occur, and the close and deliver operational side of that sales process. So from end to end, the client should be able to enter the process and exit the process and successfully be happy and leave good Google review without the owner being involved in any of those steps or stages. That's how you know you've been able to successfully remove yourself as the business owner. Ideally, you have customers you don't know their names because you've never met them, or staff that you don't know because you've never met them. That's what helps you really achieve effective scale. Yes, you should try and get to know your team, but until you reach that milestone, you're never really going to have a true business that manages and runs itself. The next concept we need to think about is leverage. Leverage is where you get to make it once and then reap the rewards from it over and over and over again. If you have to be involved in every outcome or every process, then it's not something that you can really leverage. Now, you can leverage other people's efforts. You can leverage manufactured items or things or ideas or concepts or even video like this one. Leverage is the thing that allows you to do it once and then sell it 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. Just look at the iPhone, just look at Tesla, or any other product or service that's been able to be scaled infinitely. Another concept of leverage that I like to use is other people's money, other people's effort, other people's audience. You can come up with a number of iterations of this, but basically it's leveraging other people's efforts, time, money, etc. This can occur, for example, in a marketplace environment. One of these examples is the Apple iTunes store. Initially, when the application started, it was there to sell a couple of apps that Apple had created. But after a while, they created the environment where other people could develop applications and sell them on their marketplace. So instead of having to go through all this effort and creating all these new technologies, new ideas, new concepts, new software frameworks, they are able to reap the rewards of other people's efforts by taking a small sales commission on every transaction. The other thing they get is the pay to play, or the fee that someone has to pay to register to use that portal. Nowadays, these platforms take other forms of revenue sold through the app. So the revenue that they generate from this marketplace is absolutely phenomenal. Now, whilst scale and more marketing and more sales sounds very attractive, there also is the concept of being too big. Being too big means that now you've got more complexity, more problems, more difficulty in managing the business. So sometimes there's an efficient level of scale. Too big can mean too big of a problem. Too small can mean too difficult to make it day to day. And there's a happy zone somewhere in the middle where perhaps you can enjoy a lot of profit and a reasonable or comfortable amount of work and stress in order to continue that growth path. And then you can continue to grow by being more efficient and making bigger margins over time. And also being able to have enough people coming towards you that you get to be selective about the clients that you work with, or perhaps charge more for the projects or work that you do. Once you have reasonable profits and a system that runs itself, and you are still making money, even though you're paying other people to run your business, now you have the freedom to go and enjoy other things, to go and, to go golfing if that's what you like, or to go boating, or to go for a holiday, and allow your business to continue running. You still have enough profitability to deal with errors in judgment, problems, mistakes, but at least you know that those mistakes are minimized as far as reasonably possible so that you don't have to worry. You know that there's room in the budget to allow for that customer not necessarily getting what they ordered and you having to remake that order. Ideally, depending on the risk level of the product or the service, you want to minimize that, but you get the idea. Another concept I'd like to share with you is be the ocean, not the fish. I kind of alluded to that in the Apple example, where they have the product, which is the Apple iPhone, but in creating the marketplace, they basically created the ocean in which all the other little apps became the fish. And so they didn't make money on providing the product in that sphere. They created the money by creating the environment in which products could be traded. So that environment, or owning further up the chain, or some kind of system or structural control, means that you can make money without having to go to all of the effort and to do that end worker result. Again, we're talking about making money on other people's efforts. Now, a business that grows without you, that has a profit that is reasonable and that can be predictably relied upon, now has a value. That business, should it be sold, is worth a hell of a lot more money than one that doesn't make money, or that you have to work in, or that is a lot of effort day in, day out just to keep the lights on. So a business that makes money or that makes a profit increases your valuation multiple. So now not only are you making money every day, week, month, year, you're also making money should you sell it. So you want to make, 3, 4, 5 times revenue, or 3, 4, 5 times profit. Depends differently in different industries, different business types, but you get the idea. Again, going back to the first lesson where we talked about being paid twice, not only from the profits of the business, but when you exit the business. This is where the magic happens. So making these structures, making that profitability is also important, because that's what allows you to not just get to the end of your business and then have to close it down. This is what allows you to get to the end of your business and then hand it over with a nice tidy sum, which is what everybody dreams of, but so few actually obtain. And the reason why they don't obtain it is because they don't follow the principles that we're going through in this course. Another great reason for creating systems in business is just the risk factor. So many business owners get sick and then everything stops because everything is on them. Or perhaps they've got an injury, or perhaps they've got some difficult life issue that they have to deal with, and they just can't deal with it, or they have everything happening to them all at once. But if you've got a business that runs itself, you can take that time away. You don't have to stop running the business. It runs itself. You can just attend those meetings and deal with the pressures that you have to deal with whilst maintaining your standard of living, etc. So in the next few lessons, we're going to go deeper into the building blocks that help you get to this level of scale, repeatability, and profitability. I hope you've been taking notes throughout this session, as you're going to need to employ all of these for it to work. It's no good watching the course and then doing nothing with it. One of the most important things you can take away from this is that what gets measured gets managed. So we're going to start to take more data in on your everyday operations, and then we're going to use those numbers to make an improvement. These sorts of metrics is what happens in a larger business, because not everybody is sitting on the coalface watching every little thing happen in the business. You need to rely on the numbers. These are indicators at a much bigger picture. If you've got 50 stores, you can't be sitting at every store watching the door. You need to watch analytics and data. Perhaps there's transactions, perhaps there's some foot traffic metrics, some sensors in the building that can tell you how many people are coming in and out. But you need to wrap your head around the idea that you need to work on numbers, analytics, and indicators, and then make decisions on that rather than going by feel. And from now on, your business is now a testing ground. You are going to run a series of experiments, and you are going to run them continuously. You're constantly going to be testing. You're constantly going to be looking at the numbers. You're going to make a few bold bets, but ideally, you want to make a few small changes or a lot of small changes that you can then predictably review the numbers and the statistics as to how much better is this for the customer? Is it a 2% increase or a 10% increase? If it's a 10%, yep, let's continue doing that thing. If it's a 2%, maybe it was not worth the investment in spending that additional time. But test with a little, and then once you understand how effective it is, then you can roll it out at a scale. Part of being able to run these experiments is giving yourself the space to be able to do them. So first of all, you need to control your time to get the time back to be able to spend time checking the metrics, to collecting the information, analyzing the data, testing and experimenting, and then rolling out and writing new processes, new procedures. And every time you do this, you take one step forward and another step forward and another step forward. All of these things culminate towards a much bigger change over a period of time, rather than taking one big bet in that direction, hoping that everything's going to go well, and then finding that it all falls flat and end up costing you a lot of money or shutting your business down. Much easier to do a lot of micro experiments and incrementally change as you go. There are times when it does make sense to make big, bold movements, but there are also a lot of times when a lot of small changes can add up to a very big change. A 1% improvement every day compounds. So at the end of 365 days, it's not 365%, it's a hell of a lot more. And again, it's about giving the predictability in your business to be able to allow you time to go and do other things. For example, think of an airline pilot. They need to have a 100% success rate. Everything needs to go right on that flight for it to go up into the air and then back down safely so that everybody can walk off and go and do their next activity. And of course, stay alive. They have a checklist and they must go through everything in sequence and make sure everything is 100% correct or within the range. So the oil pressure has to be right. The temperature of the generator has to be right. All of these elements have to come together in order to safely take off. So you can take a similar approach in your business by creating those checklists and processes to make sure that before this happens or before that happens, that all of these steps are completed. That way you know that you're going to minimize the time required to deliver the product or service, which now means that you can deliver more products or services with the same team without having to expand, which then increases your productivity, which then increases your eventual margins, etc. You also need to develop a culture around following the process, because you can't just have someone come in and decide to do whatever they want, because you've tested this, you know it works because you've tested it 1,000 times, so there's no point doing something different. Now, having said that, the most dangerous statement in business is that we've always done it this way around here. So part of your checklist process is reviewing your processes. So every 6 months, 12 months, you go and make sure, get customer feedback, see if there's new methodologies, new technologies you can deploy. And that is just an iteration process that is part of your daily, weekly, monthly routine. Again, it can be processized. So nothing should be new. Nothing should be a surprise. Everything has happened once before and someone has handled it. So you can do it. Your business can do it. It's okay. So first things first, make sure you have mastered the basics and that you understand how you're spending your time, how you're handling your money, that you've got a predictable process, and that you've got things documented. If you don't have those 4 things, you don't have the basic foundation required to move forward to the next steps. And that is something that you need to maintain. It's not something that you can set and forget. It's a standard that you need to have as a default setting. Even big businesses can often have these things not really figured out or sorted. Often you can have a small business that had it sorted for a while and then stopped doing it because they stopped getting checked for it. So it's part of your daily, weekly, monthly checks, or maybe part of your management team's responsibility to report to you on those foundations to make sure that they're being carried out correctly. Or perhaps it's a spot check that you do at random to make sure that everybody's following the process. And then you use those feedbacks mechanisms such as reporting requirements or performance discussions to give that feedback to your team. So if you want to get big enough to put a man on Mars, or build a rocket, or put a shop on every street corner, or have a marketplace that everybody spends millions of dollars in, or even just sell a couple more products next week, then you need to master the basics. So keep watching the next course, and we're going to go through all of these items in details and help you identify all of the levers that you can pull in order to make this idea of a business that operates without you a reality. So thank you for watching, and be sure to watch the next video.